everybody hear me?
No.
Well, that's just not good. All right. We'll start again. Good afternoon. Well, first of all, welcome to come for this. It's been a couple of years since we've done this program down here. We bring a lot of people from over the county in the different agencies to tell you about things that you can look forward to. This whole seminar is geared on what the homeowner needs to know to protect yourself and your assets. So that's our whole scoop for doing this. I'd like to tell you that the stuff that's been provided, the brownies were provided by Sun Towers, as they do such a good job. That cook is well known for doing his brownies. The Men's Club provided the cookies for you. And the CA provided the water here for this event. Well, we appreciate all of those people. If the more people we get to touch this different stuff, the less any one individual has to do. And we think that's great for the community in itself. And I will tell you that I've had people tell me today from the other event that they feel like this was the first time they come into a community and found out how well organized it is and how well it functions. It puts a whole new light on the Sun City Center. So appreciate that. We'll try and make this quick so that not everybody is going to be too bored with the thing. We're going to limit everybody to 3 minutes because I want everybody to be able to be out of here in time for happy hour at 3. I know none of you drink, but just in case you're offered the opportunity, I want you to be able to avail yourself of it. There's another thing that you may have heard when you move here. How many people have been here more than 3 years? Okay. So you might have heard a couple years ago that we changed our flood zoning around here. The county did, rather. It doesn't affect a lot of Sun City and proper, but what it does do is over on where the creek is, down in New Bedford, and the people that are most affected are people on the west side of New Bedford and some of the back streets there. So if you live on the east side of New Bedford Drive, you don't have to worry because water is prohibited from coming across the street. So don't worry about that. Everything will be protected. Now, if you believe that, there is truly some swampland around here I can find for you. Yeah, got a bridge. So anyway, this is what I want to tell you about the flood. Remember that the water down here, you all have been up on 19th Avenue and you see all these housing developments in there? That was all water table that was part of your drainage and went through the soil. Now they built houses on them, that water comes somewhere else. All of our lakes are connected. All of those lakes drain from north all the way south to the Little Manatee River. So if you get a lot of water and absorb it, it's going to go somewhere. And if you get a hurricane that comes in from the mouth of Tampa Bay, then that water is going to back up in the Little Manatee River. And if you got all this water coming from there, it's not going to be able to go anywhere. So then the only other equation is going to come up into your yard. And I want you guys to be aware of that. You see my yacht out here? You know, Jeff Bezos has a yacht. Well, this is my yacht, commensurate with my ability to pay for it. So I want you to know that I will be in there. I have both oars. So I am constantly thinking, but if you see me going by your street in this little yacht of mine, get out of my way. I'm in a hurry to get somewhere that's dry because I'm not a duck. So the way you want to do this is to prepare yourself. The other thing is the emergency. We have a card in the emergency squad. It tells you it's a key locator. A lot of you have these cards on here. It's a private file. It's not connected to the internet. It's only for emergency services, but the Sheriff's Department, Hillsborough, will call us if they get to a home and they can't get in. They don't want to break down the door. So if we have that card on file, we can tell them where the key is, what the combination is. So I would implore all of you to do that, because if Hillsborough does break down the door, and I will tell you, they love the experience of being able to do it. But they're not going to fix your door, right? They're only going to break it down, and then you're going to have to pay for it. I think it's a much cheaper experience to have them use the keys. So if you fill out one of those cards, bring it to the emergency squad, we'll put it in a network for you so that that won't have to happen. And I will tell you that if you fall, Murphy's Law says you are never inside of your phone at that point. So, and it could, 10 feet could be a long ways to crawl if you have a broken hip. So we want to make sure that you stay safe. We want to try and get you help. Okay, Sam, could we have that? We're going to play a video that the sheriff here did last year with me to give you an idea about what to do.
I'm Community Resource Deputy Jeff Mary of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
And I'm Mike Cardell. I'm the chief of the Sun City Center Emergency Squad. And we would like to bring this to you in advance of the hurricane season to give you preparedness on how you can do it to be best safe for your family. And if you can just make one decision, can you make the decision whether you're going to stay or whether you're going to go? That is the most important. And I know that a lot of you are having to have trouble deciphering which one of us which. I would like to tell you that Jeff is the one with the gun.
Mike always has to say that. Now, what we're trying to tell you is make sure that you know ahead of time whether you're going to stay and shelter in place, stay in your home, or you're going to evacuate the state, because you're going to have to leave the state if we feel a hurricane is coming here. The state is not that wide. So what we'd like to tell you today is what's going to happen if you stay. If you shelter in place, be prepared to be on your own for a few days. And when I say that, be prepared to have all the water that you need for 7 days. Be prepared to have all of the non-potable water to flush your toilets for at least 4 days. Be prepared to have all the food on hand that you need for 7 days. Now, when a hurricane occurs, I, as incident commander of Sun City Center, close down organizations. At 35-mile-an-hour sustained winds, the sheriff's office no longer operates. At 35-mile-an-hour sustained winds, fire rescue no longer operates. A little bit prior to that, we will halt any operations from the emergency squad. We will halt any operations from security and from Sun City Center Security Patrol. So from about an hour before sustained winds hits 35 miles an hour, until they drop to about 30 miles an hour, you're on your own. And that could be, it could be 30 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be 3 hours. But then also take into account that we still have to make sure we can get back up to operational level. What's destroyed, what roads are down, what power lines are down, what traffic lights are out. So even though the storm has gone by, we may still have to clean up before emergency squad, before fire rescue can actually get to you. So be prepared in any of those emergencies. If you need oxygen, have enough oxygen for quite a few days, up to 7 days. If you need electricity, we recommend you either evacuate or go to a special needs shelter, because you may be without electricity for up to 7 days. Hurricane Irma a few years ago, we had some residences out of power for 7 to 8 days. Hurricane Ian, we had residents without power for up to 48 hours. So realize that there's a good bit of time where you may have to self-sustain everything in your life. Food, water, power, your toilets, everything. So understand that if you do plan to stay here and shelter in place and in your residence.
Now, if you're going to go, I would tell you that you need to prepare. Because remember, everybody wants to wait till the last minute to go. If you wait until 48 hours before a predicted landfall of an event, you waited too long. And I will tell you that you need to look out, because you're going to need food, shelter, and gas when you leave. Those items are going to be a commodity that are going to be very hard to find. And the one thing I am sure none of you want is to be caught out in the middle of the highway in a storm. That is a given. So if you're going to go early enough and make sure you have your lodging, because everybody around is thinking the same thing you do. And remember, a lot of the people that are in Miami or in Naples or in Fort Myers, if they're going north too. And I-75 will be a parking lot, and gas will be an issue because there will be lines like you haven't seen for a shortage. These are the things you got to
Case in point, Irma.
Yeah.
Irma, you could not find gas or a hotel from Ocala to Atlanta because of all the evacuees from the southern part of Florida.
It's going to be a challenge. If you're going to stay, and I will caution you that if you don't have electric here, probably you're not going to have sanitation in the lift stations. And what will happen with the sanitation, if you don't have the lift stations, eventually that sewage will back up into your home. So you want to make sure you don't flush any more than you absolutely have to keep that and contain it until we get back in. I can tell you if you have sewage coming back up into your shower or to your toilet or into your bathtub, there's going to be a real run on bleach when all this is over with. So we want to caution you for these kind of events.
And we also want to tell you that if you stay or you leave, wait until we give the all clear to come back. We've had several instances of people wanting to go look at debris and damage, and then they themselves get caught in a situation where we have to send more manpower to rescue them while we're cleaning up the streets and while we're moving debris and while we're getting power lines back up. You know, when we had Hurricane Ian, about 2 hours after Hurricane Ian, we all of a sudden had 10 accidents just in Sun City Center alone because the power lines were down and we had traffic lights that were out and some of them were all the way down. Well, that diverts all those first responders from what they should be doing, taking care of cleaning up the roads, getting care to those people who needed it during the storm, and now we have to go and deal with that traffic crash because someone just wanted to look and see what it was. Wait for the all clear. Listen to your radio stations. Let's go log into the Amateur Radio Club's website. We push this stuff out when we say everything is all clear. So just give us some time to clean up. So give us time during the storm and a little time after to clean it up. And then once it's safe, you can come back out and go grocery shopping and see what other damage is done to the neighborhood. But just wait on us to let you know.
And we're hopeful that none of this is necessary.
Absolutely.
I mean, all of us would like to go and hit 1 December and not have an event. But lately, the way the storms have been going, we've been having an event the last couple of years.
Yes.
We've just avoided a direct hit.
Yes, they've been minor, but they have caused issues. Like I said, for Hurricane Ian, we had residents without power for up to 2 days, some without oxygen, and that definitely put a stress on first responders. During Hurricane Irma, we had residents on Augusta out 10 days, I believe, without power. So even these little minor things, we don't think about these. This could still happen. So just make a plan and be prepared.
And with that, I think we're about done. Right? And we thank you, and hopefully we have a non-eventful season.
Should I stay or should I go?
A little bit of drama for the end. Okay, now we're going to have the Community Association Manager speak to you a little bit. And she asked me to make sure that all of you have a ticket for the lottery drawings. Everybody have that? It could be worth millions, it could be worth 20 cents. I don't know. Everybody got a ticket? Okay, she's going to call.
E. James in the back there. I just want to welcome everybody and say thank you. The biggest thing I can take away, you've got all the professionals sitting up here, so I'm not going to take much of your time, is just make sure you have a plan and your family knows your plan. We at the CA control and take care of all the facilities, and we also have 50 plus employees that have their families as well. When Deputy Mary tells us the storm is coming and it's time to batten down the hatches, we transform all of your campuses, we put everything away, take everything down, and we make everything as safe as possible. And we close your facilities. We are not a shelter at all. We do house the sheriffs on behalf of Hillsborough County in one area of our atrium for your benefit and the benefit of Kings Point and the neighboring surrounding neighborhoods. But we do not house members. We do not have that license or that ability to do so. So please just make sure you have a plan in place and your family knows the plan. I can't tell you, I've been here 16 years, and I can't tell you that every time we have a storm that nears, I get phone calls from kids and brothers and sisters and all kinds of people saying, do you know where mom is? Do you know where dad is? I don't know. I have 11,500 of you, and I can't watch all of you. So just make sure you have a plan and make sure that your family, your friends, even your neighbors know what the plan is. You're staying, you're going to, wherever, just so everybody sort of has a handle. We had some issues in the past storms where we had things come down, we had roofs come in, we had different things, and we were trying to get a hold of residents that we didn't know where they were, neighbors didn't know where they were. So again, just make sure everybody sort of knows where you are so that they can get in touch with you if something does happen, and they know where to get you. So that's all I'm going to say. You want me to do a couple drawings, Mike?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. James, can you bring me that bucket up here? We'll do a couple whenever Mike tells me to. We have about 10, 15 things to give away, 10 or 12 things.
I would like to tell them a couple of things that you did. As I learned about this several years ago, she introduced a product. It's called a damming system of that. I just thought it was remarkable because I'd never seen it. It's reusable. You buy it to keep water from coming into your garage or to your front door. It automatically will fill up with water and becomes its own sandbag.
Yeah, I grew up here in Florida on the beaches. So close to almost 58 plus years now, I've been dealing with hurricanes all my life. Thank you. And one of the things that I use, and we're giving away a few of them today, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Home Depot, and they are these types of dams. They store in a little bag. I'll show one to you. We'll give one away. How about that? And then everybody can rush over to the person that wins and take a look at them. They're called quick dams. They come in all different sizes. You can get them for single doors, garage doors, double doors, French doors, and they're in this tiny little package. And you just follow the directions and you put them down, and when they get wet, they blow up and they're just like a sandbag. Then you lay them out in the sun and dry them. Or if you don't want to worry about it, they're not too expensive if you want to just throw them away after storm season. But if you do want to dry them out in the sun, fold them back up, put them away. They don't ever get back in this package. I know that's hard to believe. They just don't. So, sometimes you got to put them in a different package. But you can keep them for the next time. So they're fantastic. I have tons of them. So we'll give one away. Don't attack the person for it. Okay, let's see.
430-6553.
430-65553. Very good. And Bob, you said you weren't going to win anything. Can we do one more?
Did you check those numbers?
He told me when he came in, he was like, I never win anything. Okay, we'll do one more that doesn't win anything.
430-6564.
430-6564. Ah, there we go. Okay. So this one is a handy dandy storm radio. So you have to stay through the whole thing to see all the amazing prizes. Okay, you want to do some more later?
Yeah, we'll do some more later. Okay, the next person we're going to have is Jeff Murray, but I wanted to tell you a few things about him first. He has probably one of the hardest jobs there is if a storm were to hit us, because he will be the initial incident commander. That means he's responsible for all of Sun City for both the safety, coordinating supplies, rescue, whatever there is. And I'm sure that at some point they will decide to relieve him depending upon the size of it, if they do. It won't be early enough for him, I think, from his point of view. He would rather not do it and just go back to being a deputy. But I wanted to tell you, it is an awesome responsibility. Does it well. We worked together for several years on this, and luckily, we've never had to employ a lot of the stuff that we're doing. We also in this community put out several years ago where we have an emergency radio network. And we have 23 of them deployed. And the reason for that is to have it in the leadership, so the leadership can tell us what has happened, and all of the facilities have one, which we have 13 in Sun City. So all of these things become necessary to let other people know, and for this case, it will let us know, the emergency squad, because we'll be monitoring them, and then we pass this message on to Jeff, in which he can pass it on to emergency management, and then they can deal with it, coordinating the supplies and whatever is needed to do that. So we do feel like there's a plan in place, and it never will work out 100% like you plan it to do, but it's better to change a plan that you have rather than to start making one at that point. So, feels good. Okay. Usually we talk about that.
I know, but they're way in the back. And don't worry, that responsibility comes with 0 raise. So, the first thing that we do here at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is, of course, we monitor the storm. You know, we're looking at it from the day Jim Cantori decides that it's coming our way. Now, if Jim Cantori's in your yard, make sure you evacuate, period. Leave. But we monitor it. Then the next thing we typically do is open up sandbag locations, and we assist with those. Typically, your sandbag location is E.G. Simmons Park, over there off 19th in Ruskin. That's typically the first place that the county will open for sandbags. Second thing we'll do is we assist with any evacuations. You know, last year they evacuated Zone 1, which doesn't include Sun City Center, but it's most of Ruskin on the west side of Highway 41 there. Then we open shelters if they are going to be open, and they're going to talk about shelters here in just a little bit. And then we make a determination on safe operations. And like they said, I pretty much call the ball on when Samaritan stops, Security Patrol stops, Emergency Squad stops, and we stop operations. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is the last one to halt operations based on wind speed. But again, I want to reiterate, during any storm, if you shelter in place, you're going to be without any services for that duration. So understand, oxygen, medication, anything that you need, you know, be prepared to have it on hand. Once the winds subside, then first office, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, we resume operations, fire rescue resumes operations. Then based on an assessment of the community, we allow all the other organizations to start resuming operations. Thus far, it's been pretty good, but those organizations come out and we start the cleanup. All right, like I said, 2 years ago, we had, I think, every red light down in Sun City Center, and we drive bad enough with the red lights. So just give us a minute to get it all cleaned up and put back together before you go out, because we did, like I said in the video, you know, we had 10 accidents at one given time, and we hadn't given the all clear for people to go out. So it was people that were diverting. You know, we only have a limited number of resources for, you know, go to flooded roads and close them, use chainsaws to cut trees to get, you know, Tico back out there to get the power back on. I mean, you know, we're very strained. We all are, you know, for a cleanup. And if we're having to go because, you know, you wrecked, you know, just wanting to go look at the damage, again, you're pulling people away from what they need to do. And then the last thing we'll do after we, you know, do a site assessment, continually do site assessments, is we'll give the all clear. Okay, everybody can go back out. You know, Publix is open, Walgreens is going to open. You know, last year they were delayed overnight, so I don't understand why we had the increase. Well, again, people were just out looking at the damage. There was nowhere open, but just wait for those things and realize that even though I'm telling you you're without services during the storm, sometimes it can be longer. 2 years ago, 30% of our residents were without power for 2 days. 3 years ago, we had a whole section of street that was without power for almost 10 days. So be mindful of that. If you need those things, if you need things during that, you already be prepared, because you're not going to get them when it happens. You're not going to happen. All right? Thank you, Mike.
Okay, that's a good idea. I like holding it better than I do that. The next one is going to be Hillsborough County Fire Rescue. We have Chief Vallejo that's in here to talk to us.
Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Chief Dougherty and our rescue chief, Chief Carnell, I want to thank Chief Bardell for having us here today, and I want to thank you all for hosting us. Thank you so much. Fire Rescue is prepared to respond to any emergency. We are an all hazards agency. However, as was what was already said today, there is a point in time during that storm where services do stop. So as you've already heard a number of times, it is important to be well prepared ahead of the storm. Make those lists. There's a number of resources on Hillsborough, hcfl.gov for you to be able to begin preparing. I won't steal OEM's thunder. He'll talk about that in a second. But there's a number of resources. They work very hard to prepare so that you are also prepared ahead of the storm. Hillsborough County Fire Rescue has 47 stations. We have 40 rescues. We've added an additional 5 just today for peak hours to address some shortages in certain high volume call areas. So we are prepared to respond to any hazard that you may have, and will most likely be on scene of any emergency that you have. But just to be clear, to reiterate that point, there is going to be a point during the storm that there is going to be a short pause there, whether it be minutes, hours, and then we will resume services as soon as we get the all clear from the incident commander. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. And next we're going to have Trey from Hillsborough County Emergency Management. Trey?
Good afternoon, everyone. First thing we'd like to let everyone know is repetitive of what everyone was speaking on before, making a plan. The plan that we want you all to make is not just a plan for now, it's a plan for before, during, and after the storm. Do not wait until a storm threatens to start planning and getting things together. After the end of the storm season, the best thing is review your disaster kits, review your plan, and see what things need to be adjusted. Once you build a disaster kit, it's easy to maintain because you're only going in and probably switching out 1 or 2 items every 6 or so months. So create a plan, create a disaster kit. As they mentioned earlier, decide now whether you're gonna shelter in place or if you're gonna evacuate, because that lets you know who has availability, who has space for you. We recommend that you go to family or friends if you evacuate prior to going to shelters. Shelters are built for safety, they're not built for comfort. There's a lot of individuals that may come to the shelter and you only have a certain amount of space that you're able to occupy in these shelters, because we want to make sure as many residents of Hillsborough County is safe. As many visitors that may be in Hillsborough County at that time, we want to make sure that they are safe. So there's going to be shelters that's opening, and we encourage you to find out all shelters that's near your area and also be on the lookout, because every shelter does not open for every storm. So once we start to mention which shelters are opening, if you are an individual that plans to go to a shelter, it's on a first come, first served basis. Start making your moves at that time. When a storm threatens, start making your moves at that time. Prepare your house, prepare your family, prepare your loved ones. Like, let everyone know this is what I'm doing. So after the storm, they can come up and check on you. After the storm, big thing that we like to push is recovery. We never know what's going to happen during a storm, and the recovery process takes longer than everything. The storm may last minutes, maybe hours, but recovery can last years. So if you plan now, you will have a plan in place then. So let's work beforehand. Don't wait till things go left. Don't wait till a storm creates this major disaster before we start to think about what we're going to do. Let's get together, let's plan, get with your neighbors, get with your friends, get with your community. Plan together, help one another, because if I can get 5 people to help me work on my house and then we work on the next house, we can get it done a lot quicker than me doing my house alone and you doing yours alone. So get you a group of individuals that's willing to come out, help your neighbors, help your community, and just continue to build and stay strong.
Okay, just in case you're wondering, all these people, you may have questions that are going to come up for yourselves. But after we get done here with the dais, then we're going to release you Everybody's gonna be in that room there, so you can go over and ask your individual questions of each one of these people, to what we're gonna do. We did have planned to have, a veterinarian to come here and talk, but she had a conflict today with a doctor's appointment. But some of the stuff that she was able to say this morning was, pets, they sense these storms anyway. How many people in here have a pet? Okay, now, how many of you are willing to leave the pet to go to a shelter? Raise your hand if you would. Okay, so we got a simple number there. So it's gonna be, but you know, you won't be able to have your pet with you, at least at this point. You're gonna have to have them in a separate room, they're gonna have to be in a cage, you're gonna have all this different stuff. So it's gonna be a real emotional hassle for you to do. So you're gonna have to make preparations in one way or another, make your decisions on what that will be. But they will be there for you to ask these particular questions of after this is over with. The next person we're gonna have is the Florida Department of Health, which is Megan Fritz. And she came down, because there is two different shelters. There's one for regular shelters and then there's special needs. And Florida Department of Health runs a special needs shelter.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Fritz and I'm with Hillsborough County Department of Health to talk to you about our special needs shelters. For those of you that don't already know, our special needs shelters are evacuation facilities in the event of a hurricane. So our shelters are similar to general population shelters in that they are typically in school classrooms and gyms. The difference is we provide continuous electricity if you have medical equipment, and we also can provide more medical assistance than what you would find at a general shelter, but it won't be to the level of a hospital or a skilled medical facility. We're not able to provide one-on-one or bedside care, so you would need to have somebody with you that can provide assistance for you while you're there. We are a pet friend. All of our shelters are pet friendly, so you can bring your animals. They would just be housed separately from you, and they're not really comfortable environments, as Trey was saying. They can become very crowded and loud. The lights are going to be on at all times. The food's not great. Think school cafeteria food. So we really encourage you to have a plan that does not involve going to a shelter. I would recommend finding a nice bed and breakfast in Montana, somewhere nice. But if you would like more information about our program, we're happy to help you talk about how to register and things like that. Come find us at the table next door. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we're gonna have Tim Broad from Security Patrol.
Good afternoon. When we start, what does the Security Patrol do, particularly in a disaster? We patrol, but we can only patrol for so long until the level of danger to our people is such they need to go home and look after their own families and their own property. So we will always start. If we could start the first slide, please. There we are. In common with everything, everything stops at 35. When the storm passes, we liaise with the commander of the thing. We will go out to check for me and my deputy to make sure it's safe for our people to go out. Make sure, and this is done in conjunction with the agreement of the commander. Then our role will be to help coordinate what was needed, list and catalogue what damage had been done, where there were problems. The most important thing once we get our patrol vehicles out there will be they will discourage any looting, because that's the big danger in a hurricane. So many people want to take advantage of a situation. We will make sure we will not tackle looters. Well, a couple of my members want to shoot them, but other than that, we will alert. The job of the patrol is to alert those who can deal with the problem and to let them. Now, one of the other things we do, and you've heard about it for there, was please let people know you're going away. If you go to our table, there's a checklist of how you make your house secure. That will be a help to you. Also, if you are going to go, come to the security patrol and fill out a house date. We call them house data cards. It's what you list out where you're going, what your contact details are, and more important, who you will allow, who has a key and has your permission to go in your property. We do not enter other people's houses. We do not hold keys for anybody, but you decide who's going to have a key of your house and could get in there. Because if part of the roof goes or there's a flood, most people would like to know that if they've evacuated the area. So it's just for your own good to make sure you let your neighbours know whether you're staying or going. If your house has collapsed, are you in it? Or did you leave 4 days earlier? That's the important information that the rescue people need to know about. Next one. Next one. Next one. Next one. Make the decision early, as everyone tells you. You've seen the traffic on the I-75 with all lanes going in one direction, both sides of the median, and they're all jammed solid. If you wait till a day or two before you think it's going to happen, sorry, you're in trouble. So hunker down and get used to the idea. One of the things, next slide please. It's an idea, looking to the future. We all need to progress somewhere. One of the ideas we've been muting and trying to discuss is the idea of an emergency response centre for Sun City Centre, which would house people like the sheriff, like the security patrol, the men's club with their lifeline, with the radio clubs with all their emergency communications, ambulance garages, so we don't have to send their ambulances 40, 50 miles away and then have to bring them all the way back. It's just that we're trying to make things, how do we make it better for everybody to be here in town? And that's something we would like you all to think about and consider for the future. Anyway, that's it as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Okay, next is Pat from Samaritan Services.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pat from Samaritan Services, as Mike said. I'm here to talk about the plan that we have in place. So I think everyone is pretty familiar with our two ride services. We have 2 cars in town. We have 5 cars that go out of town for medical appointments. Our plan is probably 48 hours before the storm, we will cancel our out-of-town rides. First of all, doctor appointments will probably be canceled. And second of all, we do live in a non-evacuation zone here, but places that we drive to, Tampa, for example, they do live in areas that are low-lying, so they will have to evacuate. Well, not have to, but they should evacuate. So we don't want to be on the road with people that are evacuating, people that are going to Home Depot and Lowe's for plywood, people that are going for sandbags and groceries and things like that. So it's just not really safe for us to really venture, outside of Sun City Center, so close to the storm. So what we will do is focus on our in-town rides. So our plan is to use all 7 cars for in-town services. And of course, that's based on getting volunteer drivers to drive those cars. But we have really good volunteers, so I don't think that'll be a problem. But, so what we will do is we will take you to 4 destinations. We will take you to the grocery store for food and water. We'll take you to a pharmacy for medication. We'll take you to a bank so you can get cash, so you have cash after the storm. Or we will take you to a friend or a family member's home, either in Sun City Center or Kings Point. We will take you there if you would like to weather the storm, somewhere else. You must be ambulatory, you must be able to get in and out of the car on your own. Walkers are fine. We take walkers. So we will do as much as we can, as long as we can. And what that means is, as everyone has stated, that when winds exceed 35 miles an hour, or when the weather becomes, deteriorates, perhaps heavy rain, even though it's not that windy, maybe heavy torrential rains, or if we're told by Deputy Mary that we need to stop, then we will. We will bring the cars home so our volunteers can get home safely as well. Our third service is Meals on Wheels, and we partner with South Shore Hospital and with the Women's Club to provide this service. So if the hospital is unable to prepare the meals, or if the weather is too bad for drivers to deliver the meals, then that service will also stop. Now, just to let everyone know, when a client signs up for Meals on Wheels, we do encourage them, strongly suggest that they have emergency provisions. So for emergency situations, but especially during hurricane season. So we hope that these folks will have water and packaged food, canned food, a jar of Jif. That's what I need. To get them through a few days until we can get the service back up and running. So once we have the all clear, we will open our office and reactivate our drivers. Our in-town service will start first because we will know the situation right here in Sun City Center. Our out-of-town will probably start later because we'll have to get reports from other areas to find out what the damage is there. And in addition, the doctor appointments that were canceled will have to be rescheduled. So out-of-town will start later. And Meals on Wheels will start as soon as the hospital is able to prepare the meals again. And by that time, drivers will be able to deliver the meals because we won't start up again until we get the all clear. So once the hospital's ready, then we'll be ready. Again, we'll do as much as we can for as long as we can. If you have any questions, please come see us at our table. We have 2 directors there waiting to answer your questions. Larry Smith and Ron Pottinger, they're happy to help you. So please be prepared and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one, we have South Shore Hospital Emergency Room Director, Dave Welch.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here to be able to talk to you about what South Shore is doing to prepare for hurricanes. Number one, first and foremost, there's been a theme today. Can anyone tell me what that theme is for all of us to do? Have a plan and prepare. I cannot speak to that enough. Make sure you have a plan, whether you're going to stay and hunker down or whether you're going to leave. If you're going to leave, leave early. If there's anything good about a hurricane is that we know it's coming. So you have time, make plan now, and then prepare what you're going to do when that time comes. For those of you who procrastinate and decide that you are not going to leave, and if you get into trouble, just remember, as we've heard, our EMS teams and police teams, there will come a point where they cannot come and get you. So again, with that planning, if you have medication, if you have oxygen needs, if you have all of that, make sure that you're talking to your providers to make sure that you have enough of what you need. Because if it gets to that point, you need transport, there may come a point where transport's not available to get you to our facility to see you. If that does happen, so our facility, what do we do to plan? Our ER, we will be open. We are always open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We never shut down. We have disaster teams. So we have a B, and a C team. Our team A, and everybody who works in the hospital is assigned a disaster team. So the way we plan for that is when we know the impact is coming. If the impact is going to happen at midnight tonight, both A team and B team will arrive prior to the impact of the storm. We will sleep and house our B team. They will be off-site. They will not. Well, they'll be on site, but they'll be out of the clinical area, sleeping and preparing, while Team A works through the storm. Once the all clear is given on the storm pass, we will switch. Both teams will still stay in the hospital because, just like has been said, we don't want to be going out and getting ourselves into wrecks while they're trying to clear streets. So Team A will then go, and now they will rest and sleep wherever they need to sleep, and Team B will kick in. So we will have our staff, our facilities will be open. They will cancel elective procedures and surgeries, but our emergency services will be open to care for you if you need to come and see us. But again, just remember that, you know, if something's going on in the midst of the storm, you can't get a hold of 911 isn't going to be able to answer. Do not get in your car and drive across the street in the middle of a hurricane to come to the hospital. That is not a good idea. Your safety is first. And at that point, if you get in an injury or a wreck or something like that, there's nobody to come and get you. So again, be prepared. Plan ahead and make sure you know what your plan is, and that you have family and friends that know what your plan is as well. Our hospital, you know, we are not a shelter. We've heard other shelter sources. We are not a shelter. It is not a place where if something's going on last minute because you didn't prepare and you didn't make a plan, that would be me, is not making a good plan to get out. I'm going to fight it through. But if it does come to that, the hospital is not the place to come for a shelter. We can't do that. We're here to take care of those who are sick and injured. We don't have the resources. We don't have the space to be able to shelter. So know your shelter guidelines if that's what you're going to be doing and utilizing those resources. We talked about pets a little bit. We can't bring pets to the hospital. We have our friendly pets that we take around to visit patients, but we don't want your pet. You wouldn't want my dog there. My dog would be the one ripping the tennis balls off of the walker and going all over the hospital. We don't need 50, we can't do that at the hospital. So we can't house our pets, and we're not a shelter place. But we are here. We're here for you. We're here to make sure that you're well, and we're here to take care of your needs. Again, I will be over here as well. My name is Dave. If you have any questions for me, please reach out. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is for CERT, which stands for Community Emergency Response Teams. John? Little technical difficulty. Okay, can everybody hear me? CERT, you've seen us around doing what you imagine is important stuff. We do that. CERT is a function of FEMA. Was started about 30 years ago. The first location was Los Angeles, California. FEMA had recognized that there was a need for a volunteer neighborhood corps of individuals to assist authorities, because in certain situations, the authorities, with their priority list of remedial action, left some areas not neglected, but lower on the scale. So FEMA decided, why don't we form a local community group to fill in? This gentleman is my boss. We work under the direction of the Hillsborough County Fire Rescue Emergency Management Office. We do two things. We do sunshine operations, like when there was testing at the hospital for COVID, we handled traffic control. We did the same thing in Kings Point when the inoculations were given out. CERT trains people to do various functions
in that role of community resource. One of the advantages of that is, how many of you have run a fire extinguisher really when it was important? How many of you have fire extinguishers on the door leaving your kitchen? Okay. How'd you like to practice that without spending the money on the one you've got, but the one we can bring into a training session? Things like this. Your CERT training not only trains you to help the neighbor, but it's also to take care of your home. You're better prepared than someone that has not gone through some training sessions. That's what we do. The rescue squad, tremendous pre-hospital care and transport, security patrol, wonderful at the neighborhood watch services that they perform, Samaritan services for transporting people. CERT fills in the gaps everywhere else. We have a nice display. I'd like you to stop by and see us, pick up a brochure, and be safe. Thank you.
Next, I have a representative from the Sun City Radio Club, Dick Bishop.
Hello, can you hear me all right? My name's Dick. I'm from representing both radio clubs here at Sun City Center. And I'd like to introduce you to a program that we have, but first let me put a thought in your mind. Following a storm or during a storm, if we lose cell phones, internet, you lose your telephone. You can't make a phone call. And what if you needed to call the sheriff or the fire department or the squad? How would you make that call? How would you get help in that circumstance? The cell phones could be out for a day or a week or a month, depending on how bad the storm was. So our radio clubs have gotten together, and over the years we have developed a program which we call DRS, the Disaster Radio Service. We use a small, inexpensive radio, no license required, and we get these out to our community. We have over 500 of them now in our community. And we have a volunteer listening group we have 21 stations right now of ham radio operators throughout the community that listen for these low power signals during an emergency. When the county activates, we will activate, and we will listen 24/7 during that emergency period. If you have an emergency, you would call one of our listening stations. They would relay that information to the squad or to Hillsborough County, to 911, or whatever the emergency dictated. These radios are $15. That's about what we pay for, and we try to keep the cost low. If you went to Amazon or online, you probably would pay $30 or $28 or $30 for them. So we sell these radios, we teach you how to use them, and we practice every Wednesday from 9 o'clock till 9:30. It takes about a half an hour. Gives you a chance to practice calling, get a signal report back confirming that you were able to talk to us. We can talk to you. We have your address. We know where you are located because the radios all have a number on them, and we refer to that number. And then we will make the phone call to the squad or to the county for you. And as some of the practice sessions that we've had recently, particularly with the county, they call us back and tell us when the required service will arrive. Very custom. And then we relay that to you, so you know how long it's going to be before service arrives, or about. It's an estimate. Anyway, I have a few flyers. I'll be either here or in the back room. Drop by and I'll show you how to join our program if you're so interested. These radios are usable in other programs too. If your neighbors have one or somebody else in your family and live in the neighborhood and you want to talk with them, during an emergency, power's out, you're sitting there all alone, and you don't know what's going on, you can talk to your neighbor. Very comforting to be able to have somebody else know how you're doing and how they're doing. There's other services that they offer, radio clubs offer, but this will get you started. Thank you, and if you have any questions, drop by the table later. Thank you.
We did have a representative from TICO, but they had a conflict for this afternoon session, so they can't. But what came out of it was that TICO has, for the last several years, has spent millions of dollars trying to harden the infrastructure. But also one of the things, what I told you, Deputy Mary does is the incident commander. We had an event a couple of years ago where we lost power in a facility and a couple of people were on full-time oxygen. So we were running oxygen up to them for what, 36 hours? And if you don't have the big cylinder, that's a lot of trips. So having those in, and he was constantly on the phone with trying to get TICO to come out there and fix that situation and move them up on the schedule. And you know, they may not know exactly what is involved, but if they see something like that as a genuine need and a call for them, then they'll put it on a little more priority work order. I'm thankful that they did, because I was tired of making the trips up there. The next one we have is the men's club, and I want to put a plug in for it, the Lifeline. I have always thought that Lifeline is a very important issue in this town. And the reason is simple. If you live alone especially, if you fall, I'll guarantee you, Murphy's Law says your phone won't be with you. We have picked up people that have been on the floor for 3 days. You can imagine the situation. They're dehydrated, hypothermic, because that concrete is cold. It's not a very comfortable, enduring situation. But they didn't get found until somebody just came checking on them. So that's one reason why we tell people, and with that alerting system like that, I think it just saves you from staying. Now, if you have a spouse there, then that's maybe a different story. But if you're single on there, you have to make the provision to check on each other, or to have that kind of item to do. But where's the men's club here? Okay? Go ahead. Sorry to take the plug on you.
First thing I'd like to tell you is that if you rely on Lifeline, it may not work in a hurricane because you're going to lose power, and depending on what your communication ability is at that time, with what type of facility you've got from us, if your phone line goes down or your modem goes down, if you're running Spectrum phone, you're not going to be able to communicate. Now, if you do have one of ours that uses a cell phone, it will still work. One of the problems you're going to have is keeping it charged. So one of the things I recommend is you can use your car, your golf cart. Make sure you've got adapters so you can charge your phone or your button or whatever else. So that, because that your golf cart will charge your cell phone for 3 months. You know, so but you need to make sure you've got the adapters in place. You've got the power point that's usable. If you do have to evacuate and you take your button with you, like if you've got it on the go button, make sure you take the charger, because it's only going to last for 1 or 2 days. The same as your cell phone, make sure you take the charger for that. If you have any other questions about Lifeline, I'll be at the table over there.
Okay, next will be Sun Radio. What's the call letter?
WSC is running around looking like a giant newspaper today. If she says I can't go out, I can't go out. It's just that simple. It's easier not to than to get into a disagreement like that. So we will, like I said, we will do everything to stay on the air that we can. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Jeff was also kind enough to bring us some golf cart manuals, so if you want that. We have also some large-sized wall maps, as long as the supply lasts, we're happy to give them to you. But that's it. We'll do everything that we can to bring you the information as timely as we possibly can. But if push really comes to shove, turn on WFLA, turn on one of those other places, turn on the Weather Channel, because as much as I'd like to say we have all that, we just don't. Now, if anybody wants to donate, you know, and give us a large legacy so we can buy that equipment, we'd love to have it. But at this point, we just don't. So That's what's going on with Sun Radio, and to do it one more time to make Mike happy, 96.3 FM.
I don't know if I should follow that or not. But I'm gonna tell you about the emergency squad. As always,
It's tough, Mike.
As always, we will be there to serve you, just like we have for 60 years. So we will stand ready to do that in whatever form that we possibly can to help this community. With that, I won't want to go any further, but I'm going to introduce USI, an insurance company. They are very familiar with disasters, and they like helping communities and telling people about what to prepare for. And I think they offer a different kind of a viewpoint to this. So I'll turn it over to USI. Brian.
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Burns. I'm a certified educator for the state of Florida for property insurance. Mike asked that I come and just share a couple trends with you guys about the insurance industry. Who's tired about hearing about the insurance crisis? Right? Me too. My daughter is, my friends, my family, everybody's tired of it. Good news, I'm optimistic about the insurance market in Florida. We've had some really tough times. A lot of the legislation that has been made in Tallahassee has created optimism around doing business in the state, and so we're starting to see some new carriers come in the market. We're starting to see some capital come off the sidelines. When there's capital, that means there's competition. Competition means that pricing comes down. So we're optimistic. Hopefully Mother Nature is all on the same page with us this summer. A couple of trends I just want to share with you guys with regards to homeowners insurance. How many of you are seasonal residents? Few of you? Seasonal, so anybody that would go up north, be careful. A lot of insurance carriers are putting vacancy exclusions on their policy, which means if your home is vacant for more than 30 days and no one is there, they're not going to pay any claims that might have resulted from that vacancy. So let's say you come back from Michigan in October and we had a couple bad storms and there's mold all inside your unit and you have a vacancy clause. They can exclude coverage for that. So ask your agent if there's a vacancy clause in your policy. There's a lot of emphasis around valuations. If you purchased your home, let's say 10 years ago, and your reconstruction value cost at that time was $200,000, that's what your insurance was based on, and they do that because that's the value that it would cost to replace your building. One of the things that we saw in Irma and Ian down a little further south is a lot of those values are stale, okay? So you've been rolling over that same $200,000 value for 7 years or 8 years. Well, what does that house cost now to replace? Probably $350,000, right? Because the cost of material, the cost of labor, the cost of concrete. And so in the event of a total catastrophe, you may not have enough to rebuild your home, which is what we're seeing down south. But moreover, there's clauses in an insurance policy that if you don't insure to the proper construction cost, that $350,000, that they're going to penalize you in the event of a loss, even if it's a partial loss. And so insurance carriers put these little clauses and terms in there to reduce their payout. And so get a fresh look at that value that you're insuring your home for and make sure your agent has verified that value based on software on today's construction costs. Two other quick points, mitigation credits. The state of Florida has put a tremendous amount of emphasis around hardening your home, okay, on roof products and on windows. And so make sure you're getting wind mitigation forms for your homeowner's insurance. They provide a tremendous amount of credit on your insurance policies. And think about getting a new roof or getting new windows. It almost turns into an investment decision when you see the amount of credit that you get on your insurance. So if you're going to get a $1,500 credit on your insurance for impact glass, and impact glass might cost you, $10,000, that's paid for itself within the next 10 years. And so I wanted to share that as well. Lastly, but not least, it is important to have a relationship with a quality contractor or a restoration firm after a loss, okay? The gentleman, Tim, here, who's going to speak next, comes from a very reputable company by Paul Davis. There's a lot of them here in the area. But where we've seen claims get sideways is storm comes through, you've got water coming in, trees down, you don't know who to call, and some unsavory person shows up at your door and says, hire me, we'll get everything taken care of. And so having a relationship with someone here locally who you know has the staff, who you know has the national reputation, who you know works with insurance carriers, can really go a long way in getting a head start after a claim. So you guys live in a great community, and thank you for your time.
Okay, next we're gonna have Tim. He's a restoration specialist with Paul Davis is the company. There are several of them out there, but Paul Davis is a nationwide company that they do all over the country. One of the things that I found intriguing about them several years ago, Paul Davis and several of the other large ones, they have semi-trailers full of tarps or plywood or drywall, and they could be here within a matter of hours to stop the need for what you're gonna have to have. And I think that's a real tremendous asset to have, but I wanted them to come and talk to you about what you would do. And I think a hurricane is one thing, but the more urgent threat is gonna be, you're gonna walk home tonight and then find you got an inch of water in your kitchen. That's gonna become a disaster in itself, and you're gonna wanna know, who do I call? And even the insurance policy says that you're supposed to do due diligence on your home. Calling somebody like that to help is part of that policy. And then they work with your insurer and kind of get you out of it, and then you work about getting your home repaired. Go ahead, Tim. Hope I didn't take your thunder from you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? There we go. All right, well, there's not a whole lot left for me to say after that introduction. Thank you, guys. So yeah, everything that he said is correct, and there are several companies out there that do this stuff. And we do specialize in large loss, so in the event of a natural catastrophe, we are there, and we do have these trucks lined up and ready to go. But we also do concentrate on the small things too. You have a kitchen that leaks, you have a toilet that leaks, all of that, you don't know about it, you got mold in your walls. We come in, you call us first, we'll come in, we'll bring the equipment to scan the wall, check for moisture and all of that, at no charge to you. And then we will work with you and the insurance companies directly. So if any of you are experiencing any of that, we'll be in the back to talk about that. We also, a lot of people don't think about this portion of it because it's kind of gruesome, right? In the earlier symposium, they talked about an unattended death. So people that stay behind, most likely it's my mother. She's refusing to leave her house, and something happens and she passes away and she's in there for a while. We do biohazard cleanup as well. So if the stuff like anything that happens like that, we're there for you, all right? So any questions? We'll be in the back. Thank you, guys.
Okay, that concludes the dais, but now we're gonna pull some prizes. And I'll pull at 12, right? Okay, I'm gonna pull, well, I'm not gonna do it. My partner here is gonna pull it for me, okay? She's my man of white for today. Go ahead.